Donald Trump, on the other hand, has been talking a big game about securing our border, but he does not walk the walk.
Everything that guy just says, bull. Thank you.
The Kamala Harris campaign continues to fall apart. So despite all the lies being told by the mainstream media and them trying to shove them down our throats, and despite all of the polls coming out showing Kamala Harris is just trouncing Donald Trump, the American people continue to just not buy into the lie, okay? So we have a bunch of clips lined up. Where I want to start today is man on the street interviews. You know I love these, so let's go ahead and jump into it.
Or is it going to be Trump? And why Kamala
Trump,
or why Trump?
Trump.
Why you want for Trump?
They gonna make the economy lit again.
Okay, so you're looking for that good stimulus. Something like it? Something similar to it?
Nah, I get money. I don't need that government assistance.
What do you think about Kamala?
She a puppet on a string. She's tap dancing.
I'm going for Trump.
Why y'all voting for Trump this year?
Trump is going to do the right thing.
Can I just ask you who you voting for, who you not voting for, why you not, or why you are
Voting for my man Trump.
What about Kamala?
Oh, hell no. She not even a thought.
Donald Trump. That's my president for sure.
Not Kamala?
Kamala, she not doing shit.
But what about Kamala being the first woman of color? Not of black color, but of color.
I feel like she capping.
Talking everything, putting it all on the table.
Talking Trump then.
I'm a Donald Trump fan. I love his leadership. He's here to fight for us, and he's going to do whatever he can to make it right. Salute to Donald Trump.
Now, I know this doesn't prove anything. It's purely anecdotal, but it's great to see Trump support coming from supposedly surprising places, although I really shouldn't be that surprised because the polls have been trending for Donald Trump to gain massive support among black voters. And speaking of polls over here, here's something a bit more scientific from Nate Silver, who is by no means a right-leaning person, and in his latest prediction, he has Donald Trump up 61.5 to 38.3. That's another 8 points since the last time we checked in with his poll. This, of course, is more excellent news because it breaks the mainstream narrative that Kamala Harris is going to win come November. And honestly, the more you pay attention to what the mainstream media is saying, the more worried they seem to get. Their polls are tightening up, just as we've been saying, right? The closer we get to election day, the more the polls have to actually reflect reality if all of these polling companies want to maintain a semblance of credibility. Now, why in the world would there be this huge, gigantic swing? And as I mentioned, it's because the American people are not buying into the lie. And I want to check out this clip from the All In podcast where basically Kamala Harris is called out for being anything she wants to be in order to try to get elected.
Let me tell you what's really going on here.
Okay, tell us all. Look, okay, here we go.
The long-time Democratic pundit Roy Tshira just had a piece out called Vince Lombardi Democrats, where he quoted Vince Lombardi saying, "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing." And so obviously what's happening now is that Kamala Harris will say whatever she needs in order to win. But the question that voters should be asking, who is this person really? Because obviously what she's going to do once you give her the keys to the government is going to be different than whatever she's saying right now. And we do have a lot of background on this person. She came up through the San Francisco political machine. She was a product of the progressive Pelosi machine in San Francisco. She then rose to the Senate. She was voted by GovTrack as the most liberal member of the Senate. And just a few weeks ago, when she first announced her economic proposals, they were all this super far left stuff like the unrealized gains tax and a 44% cap gains rate. So that's where her instincts were. That was what was in the Biden-Harris budget. That was in her campaign platform. And that was in her economic policy speeches. And then what happened is there was a huge negative reaction to all of that. So now she's changing her talking points. But it's obvious what's going on. She's going to say whatever is necessary to win the election. But you're a fool and kidding yourself if you think you're going to get something really different after the election. You're going to get a continuation of the Biden, Harris, Elizabeth Warren economic program that we've had for the last 4 years.
That is an excellent point, right? Who is Kamala Harris? What does she stand for? We already know, right? We have years of statements, years of video evidence of everything she actually believes. And when she came out as the candidate, she released her supposed fiscal policy, and it was awful. It received a huge backlash. And what's she doing right now? Walking it all back. Oh, all those ideas were really bad you didn't like? I've got some other ones. You want to try those out? And this is what the Democrats always do. They have their far left beliefs that they always govern by, but every every time it's time for an election, they run to the center and try to convince the American people that, oh, it's not that bad. I'm just like a Democrat of yore. I'm practically a Republican, a conservative in all of my fiscal policies. And of course, we shouldn't believe that garbage any longer. And hopefully the American people are waking up to this simple fact. And speaking of elections, America's future is on the line. First Amendment, Second Amendment, the Constitution itself. The left wants to get rid of all of it so they can have complete control over the population. And that means when it comes to this election cycle, the Democrats are going to pull out all the stops. All bets are off when it comes to beating Donald Trump. Check out this segment from Vivek Ramaswamy.
One thing I want to caution against, Sean, is exactly what happened in June. What I expect is that Donald Trump will once again run circles around Kamala Harris, just as he did with Joe Biden in that last debate. The question is that going to be good for us in winning this election or not? Because last time around, it was the catalyst for something drastic happening afterwards, which is in that case, swapping out Joe Biden as the nominee. And I think if Kamala Harris really does tank in this debate, and I think there's a decent chance that happens, I think there are strange things that could happen between now and November, because the Democrats, they have been playing this as, in some ways, one step ahead.
You're suggesting that we may live through another change in candidates if she didn't have a good debate?
No, I don't think it's going to be a change in the candidates. The ballots have already been printed, but I do think that we have a machine that we're up against that has demonstrated that it is going to go to great measures to defeat Donald Trump. You trace this back over the last year and a half. You've got prosecutions. You've got civil cases. You've got extrajudicial attempts to remove him from the ballot. They told us Joe Biden was definitively going to be the nominee, then negotiated for the earliest ever presidential debate in U.S. history because they knew there was a good chance Biden would underperform. Once he did, they swapped him out. I think we've got to learn from those lessons, Sean, to say that they're still going to have many more tricks up their sleeve. So the two scenarios are either Kamala Harris overperforms. I don't expect that to happen. Or what I do expect to happen is Donald Trump to seriously defeat her in this debate as he did last time around. But don't expect that to be the end of this election. I think there's going to be more tricks left up their sleeve.
What's interesting about this take is that the Democrats have already proven they're willing to go to any lengths to influence an election. All the way back in 2016, Donald Trump being under investigation based on lies by the FBI. 2020, the entire nation changing its voting protocols because of COVID-19. And now, of course, you have Trump being kept off of ballots. You have Trump being brought into court on multiple charges in multiple states for doing things that never should have been brought to court in the first place, all right? This is complete and total lawfare, all in an attempt to stop Donald Trump from being elected. So what's to stop them from doing something even more drastic in the last remaining months before this current election? And the answer is nothing. They will do anything they can to stay in power, because that, of course, is the MO of the left. Now, Donald Trump's campaign is doing everything they possibly can, and to be honest, their ads have been on fire, right? They're really calling out the Kamala Harris Biden regime for everything it has done, specifically at the border. So we're going to end with this. Check it out.
It is our undocumented immigrants that are the least likely to commit a crime.
Police report as many as 75% of the people they've arrested in Midtown Manhattan for assault, robbery, and domestic violence are illegal migrants.
Police have tracked down a killer whose crimes span the country. Rachel Marin was dragged from a hiking trail in Maryland where she was raped and murdered.
Police say Brandon Ortiz Vite used a handgun he bought illegally to shoot Ruby Garcia multiple times on Friday.
The prime suspect charged in Laken Riley's murder was 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra. He illegally entered the United States back in 2022.
A Texas grand jury indicted Rafael Govea Romero. He's accused of attacking 16-year-old Lisbeth Medina by repeatedly hitting her head and stabbing her.
So let's get our notions together about what we're talking about.